This is Matador News, and these are today's headlines. University of Missouri students are refusing to talk to media one day after protests forced the president to resign. Fast food workers across the country demonstrate for higher wages. And air pollution in China reaches its worst level ever. Hello, and welcome to Matador News. I'm Leo Ibarra.
And I'm Aurabella Hernandez.
Activists with the Concerned Student 1950 group at University of Missouri are refusing to talk to mainstream news media about the celebration. The students say they are blocking media because they don't want twisted, insincere narratives. Journalists and journalism students were blocked by activists, faculty members, and other adults from covering an activist encampment. Activists used their arms to make a circle around the camp to keep journalists away. A sign that read, "Media, please stay off the grass," was used by activists. Journalists were trying to cover the protest victory. They wanted to cover the story because the president and chancellor of the university had stepped down yesterday after weeks of protests and a boycott by the football team. The students said the president had not dealt properly with racism.
Pollution in Shenyang, China is 50 times higher than what is considered safe by the World Health Organization. This has been an ongoing problem in the northeast part of China due to the coal mining industries. State media is blaming local officials because of their inexperience in handling pollution issues. The air quality has gotten worse ever since winter started because of the city's coal-powered heating systems. According to People Daily, some parts of Shenyang have dangerous tiny particles that are floating around known as PM 2.5. The number of these particles have exceeded 1,400 mg per cubic meter. Chinese officials say they are trying to cut air pollution, but they are still strongly relying on the use of coal for energy.
Tonight's Republican debate in Milwaukee will feature only 8 candidates on the stage this season. Candidates Donald Trump and Ben Carson will continue to fight for the top spot in the polls. Marco Rubio will look to continue to trend upwards as his poll numbers are on the rise. Carson will have the opportunity to answer questions about his biography and violent encounters he faced earlier as a child. With only 8 candidates qualifying for tonight's debates, each competitor will have more time to state their case for their candidacies. You can catch the debate on Fox Business Network at 7.
President Obama is appealing to the Supreme Court to save his immigration plan. He is trying to protect 5 million immigrants from deportation. Some of those immigrants are parents whose children are citizens or illegal permanent residents. Immigrants who came to the country illegally as children are part of the protection as well. The Justice Department says it disagrees with the 2-1 ruling by the U.S. 5th Circuit Court of Appeals in Texas. Republicans have criticized the plan as illegal executive overreach since Obama announced it last November. The administration argues that the executive branch was within its rights in denying the plan. The appeal could take months and possibly go back to Texas federal court for more proceedings.
A Louisiana judge has set a $1 million bond for each of the 2 officers who killed a 6-year-old boy during a traffic stop. The boy was shot 5 times in the head and chest. He was sitting in the front passenger seat of his father's car during a police pursuit. Body camera footage was captured by Louisiana police officer Michael Edmondson.
I can tell you as a father, it was one of the most disturbing things I witnessed. I cannot go into detail. I cannot tell you bits and pieces about it, although I would love to share some of that with you.
No firearms were found in the father's car, and there were no outstanding warrants against him. Hospital representatives say the father is in fair condition. A small prayer vigil took place at the site of the incident yesterday.
Police say a man was stabbed and killed in the back of a Metro bus in Highland Park last night. Authorities say 3 male suspects walked to the back of the bus and began to argue with the victim. One of the suspects, who was wearing a hooded sweater, reportedly pulled a knife and stabbed the man in the chest. The men fled the scene on foot when the bus came to a stop at North Figueroa and Meridian Streets. Metro spokesperson says 7 to 9 cameras are inside and outside the bus. Investigations remain ongoing.
American and Jordanian officials say it is too early to speculate on the Jordanian police officers' motives in this week's shooting. Anwar Abu Zaid killed 5 people, including 2 American contract workers, in the Amman training compound. President Obama says he is working with Jordanians to determine exactly what happened. The shooting has raised concerns of possible infiltration of the training program by anti-American militants. Officials believe there may be a link to a 2005 suicide bombing on the same November 9th date.
Now let's toss it to the newsroom with Matador News reporter Delmy Moran with more on Veterans Day.
CSUN's campus will be closed tomorrow because of Veterans Day. This is a day to remember our soldiers who are still with us and also the ones who lost their lives. Veterans Day is remembered every year on November 11th to mark the armistice signed between the allies of World War I and Germany. The CSUN OV lawn is filled with flags for Veterans Week. CSUN veterans can go to the Veterans Center here on campus to tell their stories and talk about what this day means to them.
We fellowship together here, and we celebrate each other's accomplishments of getting it through our first enlistment or our whole careers. We talk about people who left behind their families to go on to Iraq, Afghanistan.
Veterans Day particularly is recognition, but it's not, Veterans Day, it's just not a day for most veterans. Like for myself, it's more than once a year.
The CSUN Veterans Center will be having events throughout the week to remember our veterans. They will also be putting together a celebration for the Marine Corps' birthday at 2 p.m. today. Everyone is welcome to attend and join the celebration. Also, the women's volleyball team is commemorating our veterans by giving 4 free tickets to anyone with a military ID. The volleyball game is tonight at 7:30 at the Matador. Now let's go to reporter Sarah Currle with more in business news.
Over 64 million fast food workers are demanding $15 an hour wage. The protest is taking place in 270 cities. The walk is the largest rallies within the past 3 years. Tens of thousands of workers are supported by a service employees international union. The protest began around the McDonald's outlets in downtown Brooklyn, Boston, and Philadelphia. Several southern protesters are at the local city hall in Mikuwa, the site of tonight's Republican presidential debate. The National Restaurants Association says a $15 an hour wage base would employees to replace workers with technology such as touchscreen or tablets. This week, launch of iPod Pro may push sales back up to 15% of Apple. iPod currently accounts for about 10% of the company's revenue, and iPad sales have been declined for the past years. The tablet is a 12.9-inch display with 5.6 million pixels with an A9X processor. Declining in iPad sales are attributed to a number of factors, including a longer upgrade cycle for the device compared to the iPhone. Apple stock was down today on the news that iPhone 6s and 6s Plus sales are lower than expected. Now let's go to Kiesha Phillips within the latest in health news.
Thanks, Sarah. A new national health study says more women are using contraceptive implants and IUDs in this decade. The Guttmacher Institute survey found about 12% of American women, that's about 4.5 million, use contraceptive implants or IUDs. 2 types of IUDs are available. One is a small copper coil inserted in the uterus. The other one is a T-shaped plastic device placed in the arm of a woman, which releases a hormone that stops ovulation. Both are reversible. The implants prevent women from getting pregnant for 3 years. The IUDs work for 12 years. The implants are easier to use because women do not have to remember to take them out every day. The World Health Organization announces West African nation Sierra Leone is free from Ebola. 2 Ebola viruses have passed since the last person was confirmed to have the disease. During the last year's outbreak, more than 4,000 people died. This is a major milestone in the fight against Ebola. Sierra Leone has about half of 28,000 documented cases. many Ebola survivors still have an ongoing health issues that linger after the virus has passed. A case of the tapeworm mutating into cancer inside of a 41-year-old man may be more common than doctors believe. University of Maryland School of Medicine Dr. Matthew Lawrence writes CNN that tapeworms thought to be common but harmless, and thought to be a common but harmless infection. However, the cases are proving to be fatal. Tapeworm is common in areas with warm climates and poor sanitation. DNA studies found cells from the intestinal parasites known as a dwarf tapeworm mutated into cancer. In developing countries where parasite diseases are common, parasite cancer mutations may be on the rise. Now let's toss back to Sarah with entertainment news.
Thank you, Kiesha. Demi Lovato and Nick Jonas are going to their Future Now tour in June 2016 and have a special package to offer. Fans can buy an ultimate VIP package, which includes a private backstage dressing room with a personal tour rider, some fan articles designed by the singers, photos, and a visit with Demi and Nick. The package costs $10,000 and does not even include the concert ticket. After Donald Trump's Saturday Night Live hosting gig, more than 200 NBC stations will have to offer the 14 GOP candidates free airtime. The Federal Communications Commission cracked down on a station saying Trump's appearance on the entertainment show is not part of the news lineup. Candidates now have seen 7 days to claim their 12 minutes and 15 seconds to airtime, but they aren't guaranteed a primetime spot. Trump, on the other hand, got his primetime debut as he hosted a late-night comedy show and spoofed Drake's new music video. Trump hosting a gig attracted more viewers to the show than it's seen in 4 years, beating SNL's 40th anniversary special. Disney Pixar released the first trailer on the Finding Nemo sequel, Finding Dory. The storyline picks up 6 months after the first movie ended. Dory reunites with her clownfish friends Nemo and Marlin while she looks for answers about the family and her past. The main character, Dory, will be voiced by Ellen DeGeneres, who voiced her in the first film. DeGeneres premiered the first trailer to Ellen Tube and says she is excited and proud of this film. Finding Nemo earned almost $1 billion, making it a huge success. The film Finding Dory comes out next June. Now back to Kiesha with the latest in sports.
Thank you, Sarah. Tommy Hanson, former Major League pitcher Tommy Hanson, died last night at the age of 29. Hanson died after suffering a catastrophic organ failure and slipping into a coma early Sunday morning. The Atlanta Braves drafted the right-handed pitcher in 2005 as he made his MLB debut in 2009. That same year, Hanson finished third of the National League Rookie of the Year's voting polls. In 2013, Hanson was drafted by Anaheim Angels and made his final league appearance on September 28th. The U.S. Soccer Organization says players need to stop using their head to hit the ball. Soccer players under the age of 10 will not be allowed to hit the soccer ball with their head, and heading will be limited only to practice for those ages 11 to 13. The change comes after a 2014 lawsuit, concussions suffered by youth league players. The Los Angeles Clippers managed to pull off a victory last night against the Memphis Grizzlies with a win of the final score of 94-92. Player J.J. Roderick scored 6 straight points in the final 55 seconds, giving the Clippers the win. Roderick was the only player with multiple three-pointers in the game and also made all 6 of his free throw opportunities. Another star contributor for the Clippers was forward Blake Griffin with 24 points and 12 rebounds. The Clippers opened the season with 4 straight wins Now let's go to Daisy in the newsroom with more on Trans Week.
CSUN's Pride Center will be celebrating Trans Awareness Week starting next Monday. The week will include educational and artistic events aimed at exploring transgender identities and learning about the issues facing the trans community. Events include a Q&A with TV host and author Janet Mock, a movie screening of issues facing Black trans individuals, and a variety show. Trans Week coordinator Tyler Neroes says the week is important for raising awareness of trans issues on campus.
Trans Awareness Week is a week of empowerment and for students to know about trans issues, not just the LGBT aspects, but the T, because usually when students mention LGBTQ or people are like, oh, LGBTQ rights, they only mention the lesbian and gays and bisexual, but they rarely mention transgender issues at all.
The week's events will conclude on Thursday with a transgender remembrance ceremony from 7 to 9 in the evening at the Flint Ridge Room at the USU. Now back to Aurabella with the weather.
It's getting a little cooler here in the valley. The high today will be 64 degrees with a low of 45. CSUN students have noticed the change in the weather and have been wearing coats and boots to campus. The rest of the week should be mostly clear skies. Next week will be in the 70s with a low of 45.
That's all for Matador News. I'm Leo Ibarra.
I'm Aurabella Hernandez.
I'm Kiesha Phillips.
And I'm Sarah Currle. Thank you for watching Matador News and have a good Veterans Day.